Hello, it's Phil and Heather, and we are in downtown Chattanooga on the 4th of July. And they've kind of thrown together a little celebration. Chattanooga's not doing fireworks this year, it's 2021. And we got to see Collegedale fireworks, which is about 15 miles from here, just 2 or 3 days ago. But Chattanooga has thrown together a kind of a mix of live music and a car show, and they've got some food trucks and stuff up here. And oh, is there artists?
Yeah, they're supposed to be printing.
Okay, well that's cool. And also all sorts of stuff going on here in Chattanooga, and we are going to hang around and try to do some photography of some of it. I don't know if we're going to stay all the way until they shut down. I think they're even going to have a laser show later this evening. But we're already in the car show. Got an old Camaro and an old Porsche, all sorts of cool stuff up here. So we're going to make some pictures of these cars and maybe the musicians and maybe some street photography. And I need to put this vlogging camera down and get started. Heather was shooting with the Nikon Z50, and she used the Tamron 18-400. Look at this beautiful old Corvette. I was shooting with the R6 and most of the time with the 24-70 f2.8. This is the interior of that Corvette. And this is the front grille, a Heather shot of the front grille of the Corvette. You can see her reflection in some of the chrome. And here's this cool old truck that I made a photograph of, and Heather made photographs of it in a little while as well. And I love this SS logo and the Camaro badge on the side of the old Camaro. Here's Heather's photograph, a nice low angle shot, which I ended up stealing that idea from her a little bit later. And here is my shot of the front of the Porsche, an f2.8 shot with it just going totally bokeh-fied in the background. And here's my shot of the Porsche from the side. It was a beautiful afternoon that day. And here is Heather's photograph of the super cool super sport Camaro. And then we wandered away from the car show for a while and watched the band play for a little while, made a few photographs of the band. And of course Heather is going to take a picture of every single dog that she possibly can. So here's a picture of a Pomeranian that Heather made. And there was a truckload of watermelons that they were slicing and selling, and I made a photograph of the watermelons in the back of the truck. And here is another one of Heather's photographs of a dog as it was enjoying the festivities. I made this photograph of some folks as they were shopping at one of the food trucks. It was really a large area, basically 2 full blocks worth of area. Here's Heather's photograph. We wandered back over where the band was, and Heather made this photograph of the singer, and I made this photograph of 2 singers. It was mostly the girl on the right singing, but the girl on the left joined in from time to time. Here's Heather's photograph at 400 millimeters of the saxophone player. Really nice to have 18-400. I was making this shot of the cars across the street, and the lady and the baby walked by and looked at me, and I said, okay, that's a keeper. Here is Heather's low angle shot of this 67, I believe, Mustang. And she also tried it in black and white and grained it up like it was an old film shot of an old car. So that was pretty cool. And then this is my low angle shot at 29 millimeters of that super cool old Corvette. Here's the interior of a Chevy Nova, like a Chevy 2 era Nova, that was really cool. And I also made this photograph under the hood, and the hood was up, but the light was shining under the back of the bottom of the hood, and I got some beautiful sun stars. And here's Heather's photograph of the old truck that I had showed a photograph of myself before, and she did the same thing with this one, kind of grained it up like it was an old film shot in black and white. Looks pretty cool. Now check this out. Look at this Lamborghini, and check out the guy with the USA cowboy hat and the wife beater looking at it. I love this photo. Here is a Nomad, a Chevy, I think it's a Chevy 2 Nomad wagon, really cool, that Heather photographed. And I loved the 69 Pontiac Grand Prix because I have historically been a Pontiac guy. Now, some folks were dancing, and I was about to take their picture, and then they stepped up their dancing just a little bit. And that's 70 millimeters, and I kept on shooting and widened it out to 42. And I got the man with the stroller looking over at the dancers, kind of interestingly. And what do you know? There is a pig wandering around in downtown Chattanooga with a harness and a leash. And this is Dalton. He performed on the other stage did a really nice job, I thought. And while Heather and I were sitting on these concrete bleachers, I took a photograph of this lady with her bicycle that I thought was pretty cool. And here is another 24 to 70 millimeter Sunstar of the EPB building across the street. And while I was making that shot, Heather made this photograph of the flag on top of that building at 400 millimeters. She had a lot of power. And then I just kind of leaned my camera over and pointed it to the guy beside me and made this photograph on the concrete bleachers. Here is Heather's photograph of Dalton as he was performing. And then we got up and walked around a little bit, and we walked to the other side of the field from where the bleachers were. And what do you know, the 24 to 70 can make a pretty decent flower photo. Look at the bokeh-fied background. Here's Heather's photograph at 300 millimeters of those same flowers. And I made one more photograph of the flowers, and this one with a bee on it, another 70 millimeter shot with the 24 to 70. Then we wandered around some more, and we ran across these folks who had dogs that were introducing themselves. And then we went back across ML King Boulevard to the plaza area, and we kind of sat down and rested for a while and took a few photographs of people who were sitting near us, all sorts of people from all walks of life enjoying the time together. I thought this couple was cute as they were playing with their cell phones. And here is Heather's photograph with a beautiful bokeh-fied background at 100 millimeters of this lady as she was enjoying her time there. And Heather, of course, loves to make photographs of dogs. I think this was back over where those flowers were. And we went back to the bleachers, and Heather wanted a snow cone, and the snow cone line was really long. So while I was in line getting her the snow cone, she rested and she took pictures of dogs, and I did street photography of people who were walking by as I was in the line. So we've got lots of pictures of people from me and dogs from Heather. Look at this beautiful dog that was sitting near Heather, not too close because that's 400 millimeters. And this guy right here ended up behind me in the line, and we both ended up singing Uptown Funk together that the band was performing. And here's another one of Heather's dog pictures. Look at this dog. It has one blue eye and one, I don't know, hazel eye. I made another photograph of a passerby while I was in the line for a snow cone. And you're never going to guess what Heather photographed. Yep, it's another dog. Look at this cute dog with its USA bow tie. I thought that was pretty cute. And then I made some more people photos while I was in the snow cone line. And these people were having a nice conversation. And Heather made a photograph of another dog. So that was pretty cool. Lots of dog photos, lots of people photos. And then I made a photograph of this young man, kind of a low angle, hope the eye tech catches it, sort of a shot. And this was the same sort of shot, but hey, I got a picture of a dog. Of course, there's also a person with the dog, but it was still a dog. This is Holly Berry. She is a local Chattanooga artist, and it's really interesting. She burns the art into wood. And look, Heather made another photograph of a dog. Now, finally, I have made it up to the trailer, and I'm finally getting the snow cone to bring to Miss Heather, which she enjoyed. This isn't actually hers, but this is the people right before her. And this guy was right next to Holly Berry, and he was letting people squirt paint at a white board. And so I made a picture of that, and then I went over and got a beer, and I made a photograph of the young lady as she was serving me my Bud Light. And Heather made a photograph of this cute youngster in a stroller. So we were just having a good old time. Okay, well, we made all sorts of photographs. I started out with the 24 to 70, and we took pictures of cars, and we took pictures of live bands over there, and live bands over there. And now the Beach Boys, oh, and dogs, yes.
Dogs.
And now the Beach Boys cover band is playing. By this time, Heather had kind of put her camera away, so I did all the rest of the photographs. And these are a few photos of the Beach Boys tribute band, and they did a really great job. I'm not a huge Beach Boys fan, but they did a great job, and the lights were fantastic to photograph with. And here's some more photographs of the people just enjoying the area. These folks were making a selfie with their phone, and I also took a picture of the fire artist as she was working on this painting on wood with fire. This guy was playing cornhole with a bunch of youngsters, and he was having just a fantastic time, so I had to get a photograph of him. Now, a lot of these, when I switched over to the Beach Boys photography, I switched to my 70 to 200. So these are all 70 to 200 shots. Here is a gentleman walking by. We sat there for a while and enjoyed the band and made photos, and then I wandered out to the middle and made this 84mm shot of the entire band. I guess they're called Sail On. And then I came back to the bleacher area, the concrete bleachers, and I made a photograph of the paint squirting guy as he was talking to this nice lady. And we went back over to the car area, and I love those Pontiacs, and I made this 200mm shot of this Pontiac Rally. And then we went just down the street from the car show, and they had a lot of booths where people were selling things, and I took a picture of Dalton. His set was done, and he was walking around. And I took a photograph of these folks as they were dancing and enjoying the music. And I made a photograph of this nice lady as she was shopping at one of the booths. And it was getting darker and darker. You can see this is 8,000 ISO, and some of the previous ones were even higher. This lady with the tiara was working one of the booths. And this is the area where you go when you get your ticket to purchase a beer. This one's only in focus in the foreground. And this is in that same room, and everything's in focus on this one. And next I'll show you just a little bit of the laser show. My shots didn't come out well from the laser show, but here is the laser show. All right, well, the laser show was pretty cool, kind of short. We watched it from the very back, and it probably wouldn't have been better to be about halfway up on the field, but it was still pretty cool. I made a few photographs. I did it tripodless, which it would have been better with a tripod. But and it's the first time I've ever photographed lasers, and they needed really more smoke in the air or water vapor in the air to have the lasers show up. So it was just okay, but it's really cool. Chattanooga put on this free show. I think it was sponsored by Budweiser, but mostly it was the Chattanooga Department of Tourism or whatever. And it was a pretty cool evening. Come down here for free. Only had to pay for our beers and enjoy, what was it, 4 live bands?
Yeah.
4 live bands and a laser show for free in downtown Chattanooga. Very fun. Did you have fun, Miss Heather? Awesome. All right. Have a good evening. Thanks for watching. As always, we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.